Major support has been tested. Is it time to panic or is it time to buy? And as we go over today's video, the short-term lower high that we've been looking at for Bitcoin is still very much in play here. If you want the 5-second analysis, it's that, hey, look, Bitcoin is topping out exactly at the area that we were looking at, anywhere between 88,000 and 90,000 bucks. And we should be expecting another downside move in the more short/medium term here, probably leading into next week, this coming week, by the way. This one's being recorded on March 28th. But as it stands right now, Bitcoin is coming under pressure, and we are seeing several things that are further confirming that Bitcoin is going to play out, or very likely to play out. I shouldn't say is going to, because of course there is always a non-zero probability of something weird to happen. But in this case, you know, this is looking rather likely. We can see several things, but I'll start off with the most important thing right here. And that will be, of course, the moons, the bull moon, which saved Bitcoin on the lows and produced nearly a 10% rally, is nearing its end. And now we are about to get the bear moon, the opposite but equal moon in this case, and that's going to be coming in later tonight. If you've been following this for a while, I probably don't need to explain it to you. If you're new to this, you probably think I'm a crazy lunatic who's lost his fucking mind. Why are you looking at the moons, you idiot? You fucking moron, you. And there's probably some validity to that, but you know, just visually testing it right here with your eyes, you can see very, very clearly that more often than not, these things actually do seem to play with each other. Not always perfectly, but more often than not. And you know, the example that I always like to bring up is, you know, I have to humbly ask myself, like, would have traded better than just simply doing this? And sometimes no. It's like, Jesus Christ, maybe it really is just the moons. No. Anyways, let's get into some actual technicals here, and we can start off with, of course, the daily time frame. Daily time frame stochastic momentum is going to have a chance to freshly cross down, literally freshly cross down, essentially at the top of this rally after a 10% move for the first time in a couple of weeks since the middle of March, and that will officially happen later today, assuming Bitcoin closes anywhere below 87,300. So you're going to see not just a local high confirmed, but also a lower high, and momentum turning down. And again, this is all secondary, or I guess in combination with, of course, our bias right here. Our bias on this channel has been, well, a trend bias, and the trend is down as long as Bitcoin is below the last trending lower high, which is 92,800. So again, you know, whenever I see something like that, it's like, okay, it's time to be looking for shorts, or at least looking for, you know, lower highs. Doesn't mean that things will always continue in that direction. Of course, every trend has an expiration date, but until that expiration date comes, it's always more likely to continue just by the sheer definition of it. So looking at this right here, we have low BBWP, so low volatility, indicating that, you know, a decent move is incoming, alongside a fresh cross to the downside, very likely coming later tonight around an extreme level after what appears to be a sort of bearish reset on this. On top of that, we can go into we can go into Farcoin. No, let's go back to Bitcoin. We can go into Bitcoin over here, and we can see very obviously that hidden bearish divergence is now really starting to formulate. We called this out yesterday and the day prior on both the 12-hour and the daily time frame, and I suspect that this is, you know, again, it's going to be confirmed with any sort of closure, especially below about 86,000 bucks before end of day. And very, very likely, you know, we'd at least see Bitcoin close to 80,000 bucks. Maybe it goes all the way back down, you know, below 80,000 bucks, but we'll discuss the more long-term implications a little bit later. Anyways, for right now, I also wanted to bring this up as well. The Tether dominance chart, which was indicating a bounce yesterday, and, you know, likely playing inversely as it typically does with Bitcoin. And this one is going to continue to bounce, and I expect that this one does trade a little bit higher. We've already hit the 5.25 target. I do expect this one to get at least like 5.40 to 5.5%. And then if it is going to be another lower high, that's probably where it comes from. But we do see that there is hidden bullish divergence forming on this current low, so I'd give it a chance to really rally up here. I mean, I want to be very fucking clear, despite everything that I've been saying about the hash ribbons indicator, this is a time to be certainly more guarded and more skeptical, and just more like be fucking safe during this time, because things really can fall apart if Bitcoin does come back down below the March lows. And one of the big reasons why I also want to call that out is because over here on the monthly MACD, we are starting to see this thing come back down, like kind of aggressively. And the monthly MACD crosses have accurately predicted the end of every market cycle before tremendously large corrections pretty much every time except for one. The only time where it did not work in that fashion was, of course, from the March 2020 saga, the old Corona dump. Of course, that was a bit of a black swan, but even then, I mean, things did come 50% down from there. So you might even say that that was even fulfilled in that case as well. So the problem with this is that when we have seen the cross happen, it is actually indicated that the highs were in, a couple bars before then. I mean, we can see the most recent one in Jan of 2022. Obviously, the highs were a couple of months earlier than that in November of 2021. And then, of course, same thing over here in 2018. This one happening actually decently after the highs were put in. But again, did still get a nice more than 50% move to the downside from that, from that time. And it was a really good indication that it's not a good time to be looking for long-term longs or anything like that. So I'll continue to keep an eye on this. As of right now, obviously it's not like super concerning because it's not going to cross to the downside, especially on this next tick, but we'll see where the next pivot is as far as what would require what price would require to actually cross this one to the downside. Right now, coming into the end of March, it is 46,650. I think it's very likely Bitcoin's going to remain above that, of course, but we'll see what that number moves up to in April. I can't imagine that it's going to raise up like that much, but worth keeping an eye on because even when that does happen, I think, it's going to be better to be a lot more defensive here. Anyways, back into the hash rate indicator. So coming back into the sort of like later on in the medium term / early on in the more long term, technically we do have a setup pending right here. And as we said before, this hash ribbon's buy signal is not an immediate call to action ever. Almost always things do come back down around that last prior low. In this case, Bitcoin's last prior low was 76,650 or so. Let me just double check on that. Yeah, 76,700. That does mean that we have a very obvious area to flip around that long-term bias from, okay, this is an opportunity for a major short. Still an opportunity, I guess. But, if Bitcoin were to close below that low, at that point, I really do think you're going to see Bitcoin, I mean, obviously at $60,000, but very likely down to $50,000. At that point, I would also have to imagine that the monthly MACD really does come into play, and maybe we got some, even more dangerous to deal with. But, until that happens, I would still run with the assumption that, the lows are very likely in, despite Bitcoin likely to come back down close to those lows. We just don't want to see closures below, again, that 10th of March low. As long as that condition is not met, then there's still hopium that the bull market is on, and that this pullback that Bitcoin is witnessing here is going to be an opportunity. So we shall see indeed. And of course, it is essentially the last trading day of the month. Actually, let me just double check. Oh, sorry. Okay, I apologize. It is actually Monday. Yeah, I should have just checked my calendar right here. As it stands right now, monthly, let me actually go to the monthly RSI. Let me go back on over here. Yes. Okay. And there we go. When we go to Bitcoin and we go on the monthly, I mean, if Bitcoin were to trade below this quarterly low coming into the second quarter, and again, that's essentially the March lows, 76,700. This is going to start to look like a local high. And if that's a local high, then it is a higher high on price with a much lower high on our quarterly RSI momentum oscillator. That would be bearish divergence. And that is what has stopped our last few market cycles, actually. So again, a very obvious pivot. It's, if you're going to be bullish and you don't think that the cycle is over, I don't think Bitcoin survives coming back down below the March lows. So hopium remains as long as Bitcoin's above the March lows. The second that it comes down below and closes below there, big fucking problems. Big fucking problems for a long fucking time as well. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to leave off on this video. Just continuing on with this thread of analysis. Of course, if you find this content valuable, if you just want to be updated every day with my thoughts for better or worse, then of course consider liking and subscribing. It's free to do, and it gets it tells the YouTube algorithm to promote these videos to you so that you can actually get them on time. Because I do know that that's been a bit of an issue recently. On top of that, I should also let you know that we have the last, probably should have said this at the beginning, but we have the last couple of days left of our sale, which is 20% off of any one of the programs or services that you can see in the Teachable link in the description below. That code is year 7, year in all capitals, and then 7. I have seen that it's some people have been having issues with that. If you have an issue with it, just email Elsa and we'll figure it out. And then of course we also are offering a 30-day free trial for all of our indicator services, that being the Caretaker's full indicator bundle, that being the Quant Prime service, which allows you to create, test, and automate your trades. And then of course the VMP and even the quantum wave bands, which is more or less a done for you strategy. You can try that out for the first 30 days for free with the code trial in all capitals. Anyways, that's enough shilling for right now. As always, I want to wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and we will continue on with the live stream. If you want to join in at a later time, then we do these on Tuesdays and Fridays. See you next time.